Rise. Ole, ole, ole. Silence commanded by this honorable commission. All those having business draw near. Be seated.
Thank you. And you may be seated at this time. Where'd he go?
He's here.
Don't be changing chairs on me. No musical chairs. Let me ask, the first thing I want to ask you to do now is silence your phones, all right? Not only do I have my deputy over here, but he got backup in the audience, and I don't want them to go home with their pockets full of your phones, because it's a lot of trouble getting them back, okay? Please, ma'am, please, sir, silence your phone that it doesn't go off, and that includes the commissioners. Silence your phone, check, 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 all right? We're gonna make sure that happens now so that we don't have any interruptions in here. With that, our meeting is officially in order. It's called to order, and today we have someone that I draft. I don't call him a ram in the bush, because the ram had to make a sacrifice, all right? But good friend of mine, and Pastor Osborne could not make it at the last moment, but Pastor Tillman is here, and I'm gonna call him to come forward to lead us in our inspiration and our invocation, okay? And Pastor Tillman is the pastor of the historic First African Baptist Church. And the thing I like to tease him about is this is his 40th year. He's been at First African as long as Moses was in the wilderness. It once used to be a time when Pastor Tillman first got here, all the senior pastors, come on, senior pastor used to talk about that boy. Now he's the senior pastor, so he can talk about the other boys. Pastor Thurman Tillman, pastor of the historic First African Baptist Church.
Good morning to
Good
our
morning.
chair, all our commissioners, to our staff, everyone present. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Well, have to get a passage of scripture. We'll look at James chapter 2, verse 14. It says that basically it lets us know this: faith without works is dead. It's good to believe, and faith is more than believing. We can believe we're going to have a better county. We can believe we're going to have a better state. We can believe we're going to have a better country. But what's more important is working toward that. We can believe it, but do you have faith? Faith is actually so much more than just believing. Faith is acting on what you believe. The chair could have believed that Pastor Tillman could get up here and do an inspirational and a prayer. He could have believed that. But had I not moved and stood here to actually do this today, that would have been just a belief without an action. We could believe a lot of things, but then we can also work on a lot of things. And that's what I believe and really have faith in our county commission, faith in our elected officials. I have faith in our nation, that God will lead us and direct us to work to do what needs to get done. I could believe that having a good job will bring good wages, and I have a good life. But at a minimum, I need to fill out the application and go to the interview. And even after all of that, it would behoove me to get up and go to work. So I say to all of us today, I'm excited about the opportunity that we have before us to do the work that we've been called to do, so God could get the glory. Let us pray.
Let us stand.
God, our creator, sustainer, redeemer, deliverer, we come this day giving you praise, honor, and glory just for being God all by yourself. We ask in a special way that you will empower those who are in power to do the work you've called us to do for such a time as this. We thank you for all of Chatham County and for every resident, everyone who visits. We ask your blessings upon each one, that as we are blessed, we will recognize the importance of being a blessing unto others. Help us to love everybody the way you called us to love. Help us to care and to share for everyone, that your will might be done. We thank you for this day we've never seen before, and we thank you for opportunities that you've given us today that we may not have had in the past. Bless, guide, and keep us now. In your name we pray. Amen.
Let us join Commissioner Whiteley in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. And thank you, Pastor Tillman, for letting me infringe upon you to lead us in our devotion. At this time, we're going to roll call.
Chester A. Ellis, Chairman.
Present.
Kenneth A. Adams, District 8, Vice Chairman.
Present.
Helen L. Stone, District 1, Chairman Pro Tem. Present on Zoom.
She's on Zoom.
Larry Gator Rivers, District 2. Bobby Lockett, District 3.
Here.
Patrick K. Farrell, District 4.
Here.
Tanya Milton, District 5.
Present.
Aaron Whiteley, District 6.
Here.
Dean Kicklider, District 7.
He stepped out. but
He
he's
is here, for the record.
Yeah, he is here, so that the records will reflect. He just stepped out. At this time, let me call on Commissioner Milton, who will introduce our youth commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. We have in our midst today two outstanding young ladies who are with our youth commissioner. They are youth commissioners, and we want to introduce Bashia McNutt, and she's the chairwoman, and she's a junior at Savannah Early College. Would you stand and say good morning? We also have Noah Harris, who is the vice chairwoman, and she's a junior at Johnson High School. So are you gonna, I'm sure you're gonna spend most of the day here with our meeting this morning? Very good. We're really proud of what you're doing, the outstanding work that you're doing. And just think about where you'll be in the next 5 years.
And Mr. Chairman, can I make one other point?
Sure.
I also like to highlight that Ms. Harris is also a participant in the pilot program of the youth court that's been going on. So thank you for participating in that too.
We thank you all for being a part of us and being in the service here in Chatham County. And it is the first time in, 2 years now that we've had the youth commissioners here with us, all right? And we're so glad that you're here. And let me say to you now, if you want to have a question or about any presenter or make any statements, just wave and get one. In case I don't see it, one of the commissioners will call it to our attention so that you can be a part of the proceedings today, okay? At this time, I'm going to call on Commissioner Adams, the vice chair, who will lead us in the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This proclamation reads, whereas the nation's 120,000 nonprofit arts organizations, the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the nation's 4,500 local arts agencies and communities across the country, in the arts and humanities councils of the 50 states and the 6 U.S. jurisdictions and districts have regularly issued official proclamations on an annual basis designating October as National Arts and Humanities Month. And whereas cities and states throughout their local and state arts agencies, which represent thousands of cultural organizations, have celebrated the value and importance of culture in the lives of Americans and the health of thriving communities during National Arts and Humanities Month for nearly 30 years. And whereas the humanities help diverse communities across the United States explore their history and culture with the support and partnership of the National Endowment for the Humanities, the 50 state and 6 jurisdiction and district humanities councils, and local educational and cultural institutions. And whereas, despite significant losses due to the coronavirus pandemic, the creative industries remain amongst the most vital sectors of the American economy, providing new opportunities for developing cities, creating jobs and economic activity within their industry and across sectors, and making communities attractive to business development. Whereas the nonprofit arts industry alone generates $27.5 billion in government revenue and $166.3 billion in economic activity annually by organizations and audiences, including spending by attendees to arts events of $31.47 per person per event, beyond the cost of admission on items such as meals, parking, and lodging, making the arts a vital income source for local businesses. Now, therefore, I, Chester A. Ellis, Chairman, on behalf of the Chatham County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2022 as Arts and Humanities Month in Chatham County, Georgia, and call upon our community members to celebrate and promote the arts and culture in our community. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of Chatham County, Georgia, to be affixed the 21st day of October 2022.
Let me invite Mr. Kelsey to come to the podium and as Executive Director of the Arts and Culture Alliance of Chatham County.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair Ellis, County Commissioners. On behalf of those whose livelihoods rest on arts and humanities, and to all those having great appreciation, I extend gratitude for your proclamation. Today's proclamation actually completes a triumvirate of recognition. Thrilled to share with you that our governor with the state of Georgia and the city of Savannah have also issued proclamations. These proclamations highlight and affirm that which impacts education, health, community, quality of life, economic impact, and several other contributions to the fabric of our society. This impact is founded on those in our society passionate about the arts, humanities, design, and other creative fields. Today, I have examples of those very individuals demonstrating that passion. They are watching through your broadcast. I thought that space limitations would be a little tight. So several SCAD art and design students from various majors, all working to pursue a professional career in the creative industries, with whom I have the pleasure of introducing commerce and showing in part the influences of public policy as part of their educational journey. Before leaving, I'd like to repeat the words by John Adams in 1780. I must study politics and war, that my sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. My sons ought to study mathematics and philosophy, geography, natural history, naval architecture, navigation, commerce, and agriculture, in order to give their children a right to study painting, poetry, music, architecture, statuary, tapestry, and porcelain. Again, gratitude for your proclamation today to celebrate Arts and Humanities Month in Chatham County. Okay.
Thank you so much for all that you do.
Yep.
And thank you, and we encourage all of our citizens to get involved in the arts and culture. All right?
Awesome.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Appreciate
At
it.
this time, I'm going to call on the manager, who will call on the HR director to lead us in our Employees Service Award.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commission. As customary, we like to recognize county employees who have had significant longevity with Chatham County. And they've been a part of Team Chatham. And I would like to ask our Human Resource Director, Carolyn Smalls, to come up and kind of introduce the employees who are recognizing today, and we'd like to give them a little token of gratitude for working with Team Chatham. Ms. Smalls?
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you, Mr. County Manager. And Mr. Manager, if you would also step forward and assist us in presenting our awards to our team members. I am very pleased to be here as always. This is a special time for me to present service awards to our team members who are recognizing a service milestone. So this morning, we are recognizing 12 of our team members from 8 different county departments and offices. And so, as I call your names, I invite you to stand and come forward. And also, if your department head, elected official is here to support you, if they would also come forward as you receive your award. And I think we have a photographer available to take your picture as well. Photographers to take your picture as well. So this morning, we are going to start with a team member who is celebrating 20 years of service with Team Chatham. So we want to recognize Ms. Allison Bailey with the District Attorney's Office. If you would please come forward. And celebrating 10 years of service this month, Ms. Sabrina Allen with Clerk of Superior Court. And now I have one of my own team members from Human Resources celebrating 10 years of service, Ms. Octavia Brown with Human Resources, and her manager, April Levy, will come to celebrate with her. Octavia's doing double duty. She handles the service award program, so we appreciate the work that she does with that program as well. Also celebrating 10 years of service, Ms. Stephanie Bridges with the Board of Assessors.
He towers over everybody else.
And celebrating 10 years of service with the Detention Center, Mr. Richard Summers. And for this next award, I'm actually going to do double duty because I'm going to step out of line and take a photograph and help her receive her award. Ms. Kelly McNeil with Human Resources celebrating 5 years of service.
All right. They surround her.
And also celebrating 5 years of service, Chief Deputy Gary Taylor with the Detention Center. And celebrating 5 years of service with the Victim Witness Program is Daisy Figueroa. Celebrating 5 years of service with facilities maintenance, Ms. Karen Smalls. And also celebrating 5 years of service with the detention center, Mr. William Tippett. And Miss Alexia Robinson, who is the director of the Front Porch, is celebrating 5 years of service. And Deputy Corrections Officer Marissa Tony is celebrating 5 years of service with the detention center. And thank you all. Let's congratulate our service award recipients on their milestones. Congratulations to all of you. Thank you.
Let me at this time, let me count, y'all, slow down, stop. Slow down, slow down, stop. Okay. They are constitutional officers, and I want to introduce them before they go out the door, because I know they gotta go back to work, but that's our DA. All right. And then our sheriff. All right. Did I see the tax commissioner, or that was last? Okay, I might be. Thank you all, but I just wanted to make sure we introduce and thank all of the constitutional officers for being here today with us. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. All right, there are no chairman items, no commissioner items. The item that's on the table, I didn't forget it. Yeah. We've been asked to let that, table item stay on the table, all right? Yeah, because, yeah, there's some things we need to straighten out, and so that will remain on the table. No, we don't have to, we can just leave it on the table, we don't have to. All right. All right, let us go to items for individual action. Request approval of the following budget amendments and transfer. In the capital improvement, the CIP fund, transfer $500,000 from contingency to the Hutchinson Island Wall Stabilization Project. 2, in the restricted court fees, appropriate $250,000 fund balance from the Special Speed Camera Fund to CCPD. Operational account. Is there a motion?
Second.
Probably motion and second that the request be approved. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor signify, question?
Will the $500,000, is that gonna cover the reconstruction of the wall, or is this just an installment?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, no, sir, that will not cover the repairs. What we're doing now is making sure we've got a proper design, and we'll have to come back to you when we get ready to award a contract for the repairs.
Thank you.
And so since you want to know about that information, we're in contact with the governor's office, all right? Because they have a part in that too, as well. There are several partners in that with us as we stabilize that wall, and we're talking about where it caved in on Hutchinson Island, okay? So this is just to get those design things in place, all right? Have we answered all questions? Cast your votes. She votes yes?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Stone votes in the affirmative. All right. All right, there we go. Request the board approval for, what that? Oh, I'm sorry. Request board approval for the resolution Operation Green Light for veterans in the Chatham County. Is there a motion?
Second.
Properly motion and second that the request for the Green Light project be approved. Any questions? Please cast your votes. Commissioner Stone votes in the
She votes
affirmative.
yes.
All right, and let me say to the public, the Green Light project at Veterans Day, we're going to, county will be along with NACO. This is a countrywide initiative, and we're going to ask folks to put the green bulb that we're going to give you in your outdoor lighting, and we're all gonna cut them on at the same time for Veterans Day in honor of our veterans, okay? That's what the Green Light project for veteran is about. And that'll be in November. At this time, we're gonna call on Director Sirhad to give us his bi-monthly report.
Good morning, everyone. So let me get this queued up. All right, just briefly, I won't take too much of your time up. I know you guys are extremely busy, but you know, right now we're about 7 agents short, but that's due to, you know, just staffing across the board with all the departments. We're making do. We do have some new hires coming on that aren't sworn. So we've been able to hire 2 new analysts, well, 1 new analyst that we have onboarded, which is assisting with the Intel unit, and we've got another one, we're just working out the details, so I'm very excited about that. We were able to onboard a C&T hired sergeant, so we're now back to running 2 tactical teams, which hopefully will double up what we're able to accomplish out on the street. Unfortunately, next Thursday, we're losing our paralegal, Luana Marco, but we've had that advertisement out. She does an enormous amount of work for us, and I'm hoping that we get a good pool of people to interview and get through that. So I'm excited about hopefully getting that filled fairly quickly. And then we have a technical specialist over in the tech building, and we're going to re-advertise that, and hopefully after we do that, we'll then do interviews, and then we'll be back up in the tech unit. Because the tech guys over there, they really support the enforcement guys and gals that are out there with all the tech equipment, and it's very hard for them to really move quickly without having all that at their disposal. We're in the middle of our 3-year recertification review. That's starting here in the next month. And so everybody, we're working real hard on getting property and evidence, making sure everything's squared away. And we're looking at some case file retention stuff because we've got case files there from
back to 1994 that aren't within, you know, the time frame of the Records Act. So we're looking at trying to get that squared away. So from an administrative standpoint, we're trying to get on board and get a little more current. So, you know, I always wanted to give you the update on the overdose front. So, you know, we implemented that OD mapping. You're very familiar with that, and that is really not a complete accurate accurate number based on a lot of different things, and we've discussed this. But so just to, you know, tee it up, so like in September we were at 38 confirmed overdose deaths. Well, 38 overdose deaths according to the application, the app that the people are using on their phones, that the first responders are using, okay? So that was 38. But when we've got our process in place, it's working, we're being contacted by all the departments and the detectives that show up on the scene. So my two investigators have either been called out or responded in one way, shape, or form to 63 events just this year. So we've got two people that's what they do on a daily basis, is they come in and they respond to those, and then we start working those investigations. The ME's office, so as of yesterday when I discussed with the ME's office where we were, they showed a total of 43 individuals within the county that passed away that had fentanyl in their tox screens. Okay, that was as of yesterday. But when you look at those, the most recent tox screen that came back was like mid-July. So we're looking at all of July, August, September, and half of November, that those tox screens aren't even back. So even that number isn't a good number, okay? So we at C&T, we've got a list, and we, based on our call-outs and what we're seeing investigative-wise, I think the more accurate number is that we've lost 60 individuals to date as of now. And that number already exceeds last year's number, and we still got a ways to go. And that number will fluctuate up. It will not fluctuate down based on some of the tox screens that come in. So, so far this year, my office has probably done training for first responders and different people like out at the airport. We've done about 275 officers that train up on the use of naloxone and just the dangers of fentanyl and how to handle stuff when you get on scenes. You know, I'm speaking routinely. That number is going to go up. I've personally been before well over 200 people that were talking about the problem and the epidemic and doing more of an awareness type thing. And then currently we've got 5 cases in the pipeline that we feel pretty good about, but we're not really right there yet, that we're getting ready to probably present to a grand jury where we'll be charging the individual that distributed that fatal dose with felony murder, which is a huge step because that has not ever been done here. And so, okay, so, you know, I have in the past showed you guys some videos that I think are compelling just to get everybody to understand. The one thing that scares the bejeebers out of me is that the average, the number, the age is coming down. Okay, I mean, last time I expressed a concern over that all the other drugs that we're seeing are being laced with fentanyl, and you know, we've lost a 13-year-old in one state. We lost Ohio State students, the cadets down in Florida. So it goes on. Well, this is the latest one that I came across, which is pretty sad, and I wanted to. Can we get this to play?
Where's Sean? No, we need to get the volume in.
Am I doing this wrong?
Just hold on a minute.
Can we get the volume up on that? Let me see what you're doing.
One second.
It was up here when I first did this, so I know it's enabled. I should have queued this up ahead of time, I apologize.
So it was working earlier. I don't know if it being Zoom on here too.
That could be, I can just walk them through it.
Okay. Get you back on here. There you go.
So basically, this is, you know, a 15-year-old out in California, baseball player, freshman, and he overdosed, and it was on something that he didn't think he was taking, that was fentanyl. And so there's a clip on this that I really wanted, and as much as I'm speaking to y'all, I know that this is filmed, and it's my opportunity to speak to the public, whoever's watching, and this particular county out in California, they were having, this was their 6th teenager this year that had died from fentanyl. And so, you know, when I start seeing that number come down, the average, I start worrying about our kids here in this county. And then, you know, it's I mean, every day on the news we're hearing about the multicolored fentanyl that looks like candy. You know, the recent stop out in California where they seized about 19,000 pills of fentanyl that were hidden inside Skittles and, you know, packages and stuff like that. I don't think those packages are destined to be sold to individuals, but they are hiding them inside those those packages. So it's still pretty scary, and I don't know what the solution is other than to get the word out and aggressively investigate any information we get on the distribution of fentanyl. Okay, so our TAC teams, like I said, we brought that other sergeant on, and so we're starting to rev up our TAC teams. And just, you know, within the last, you know, 5-10 days, they've done 3 search warrants on 3 different investigations. And so you can see we're starting to seize quite a few weapons. And once again, you know, every time we go out the door and execute search warrants or working on these investigations, these individuals, they're not just selling one drug. They're poly drug dealers. So they're selling marijuana, meth, heroin, fentanyl, crack cocaine. We get into these locations and it's everything. And once again, the fear is when you have that fentanyl, even though they're using it for the heroin, a lot of times there's cross-contamination. So we just finished one of our major case investigations that we started in February of '21. These are very complex, long-term investigations, very manpower intensive. The guys and gals work, I mean, hours and hours and hours on these investigations. We identified the network that was working within the area here, and then through the investigation where I identified that this organization was moving kilos of cocaine to multiple parts of the southeast Georgia. Most of that, the bulk of that was being distributed here locally in Savannah, and that was mainly going straight into the Carver Village area. The beauty of these investigations, and when you get down, is we don't really cut the head of the snake off. We don't cut the source's head of the snake off. We cut everybody. So, you know, this investigation, you know, we pretty much annihilated the entire organization, which is what major case is designed to do, is to look at a organization from top to bottom and develop enough probable cause and information and evidence to indict the entire organization. And we were very successful. The major case unit is very successful at doing that day in and day out. So this particular case, here's just some photographs of the aftermath and the evidence seized along the way. And as you can see, we're right into the poly drug dealer. So this case, we had a total of 15 indicted federally and state. And so this, what I'm showing you here is a snapshot of one day in that conspiracy, in that organization that was selling drugs in the area for several years. Okay, so on this one day when we went out to go execute, we see 7 kilos of cocaine, 9 pounds of marijuana, 228 grams of crack cocaine, 4 weapons, and about $50,000. So when I, 7,000, there's 7 kilos of cocaine's a lot. You need to know that was on that one day, and so it's not, I don't have a total number of what we think this organization brought into this town and distributed over that period of that conspiracy, but it's enormous. Okay. Source of supply was out of Florida, and we were able to indict that individual too. So it's imperative that we are impacting not just the organization here locally, but we have to reach out and annihilate the individual that is. We got to take that out so that it doesn't flip to just another group of people here locally.
All right, now, questions for Director Sahara, Commissioners? None? All right. Okay, let's,
Yeah. Commissioner Stone asked, what precautions need to be taken for Halloween trick-or-treaters?
oh, okay.
around this?
I would say that it's the precaution that my parents did for me when I was young. It's as simple as that. We have to go through all their candy. If you think it's open, if it doesn't look right, throw it out. As a parent, I would personally be going right along with my kid up to the door and going, oh, what'd you get? Oh, okay, that looks pretty good. And then go on to the next one. And when you see something that isn't, I make sure I got some rubber gloves on too. So, and I think that the sheriff's office is fully aware of that, and is probably one of the reasons why it's driving the trunk and treat, that we're going to participate in that also. I think a lot of it is just common sense and and oversight as a parent.
Okay, let's go to our Youth Commissioner Harris. Hit your button so that Mike.
Okay, so I understand fentanyl is an expensive drug, is it?
No, ma'am, it is not. So, that is the one thing that is really driving this. Is it's so much cheaper than what heroin, any other opioid, and so it's cheaper, but yet it's 50, 60, 70, 80 times more potent than all the other heroin or all the other opiates. And so for a inexpensive amount, we can take a very, very small amount, add it to something that is extremely expensive, and make it more potent than for a very cheap price.
Okay, so, but that they have, like, their main thing is to make the most money. So I was just thinking, why would they lace children's drug? I just feel like it's kind of like propaganda to scare people off and make people a bit scared of Halloween. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think that's the case here. I think that that it's not to scare people from trick or treating, okay? And as I said earlier, I didn't think that the packaging of that a kid's going to end up with a bag of Skittles with 25 fentanyl pills in it, okay? That is a means to disguise and hide the shipment of that drugs to get it from point A to point B.
I just wish the focus would be more on safe use of drug, because drug use is inevitable. So, but we understand that the drugs are on the street. So if we could give people who are on drugs access to, like, the drugs that counteract it, so it won't have a lethal effect, because you can't stop them from doing it, but you can stop stop the number of fatalities from happening. And I just feel like a lot of the focus has been put on like the propaganda of scaring kids, like, oh, the drug dealers are sending the drugs directly to kids and they're just trying to kill kids. But that's not their intent. Their intent is to make the most money. So why would they put their money into people who can't fund them, which are children?
Okay, well, I think that the bulk of our individuals, our children that we're losing, is that they don't realize that they're taking something that has fentanyl. They think they're taking a different drug. The 2 Ohio State students, so they thought they were taking Adderall. It was in what, April or May? So my guess, you know, logical, that's exam time. So those kids were taking what they thought was Adderall. They got from somebody else. They sure didn't walk into the drugstore to get it. And we have two kids that are trying very hard to probably pass exams that are dead. So part of it is I agree with you from the standpoint that we have a recovery problem, and we need to further, you know, look after the people that have already been affected by this. Okay, because the opioid, because it's a disease. It's not just based on the fact that you know, the theory of, hey, you don't have the willpower to quit. That is incorrect. It physiologically changes the brain, and so the will, they lose all that power to be able to do that. So this is a very complex problem along the way, okay? But to give up the ship on training our youth and getting them not to do it, that I'm unwilling to stop that ship.
There's a way where we can provide like safe houses, not necessarily for them to do drugs, but for them to seek help, like the drugs that counteract the lethal effects of the drug, so they don't overdose. So even
You know,
if they continue to take it, they don't die.
I am not here. Oh, boy, you give me a hot potato here because I don't want to. I'm trying very hard to be diplomatic. C&T, I'm on the enforcement side, and I am not going. You know, I would advocate for, if somebody has a problem, that we do everything humanly possible and give those resources to individuals to help them get better. Okay, I can't advocate for. What I'm hearing is that you think we should have a safe place for them to go do drugs that aren't laced with fentanyl. Is that what I'm hearing?
Because if there was, okay, so, like, for instance, they have those in New York, their numbers have decreased drastically, because it'd be better for them to do it there than to get it on the street and to sneak around and do it.
Here's the problem with that. Here's the problem with that. Is that the opioid alters, physiologically alters your brain, okay? So, you can tell the addict, I'm telling you this right now, you can go, hey, don't use that, it's got fentanyl in it. And the draw that the addict has overrides common sense, overrides everything, and they're going to use it. So if we have an area, hey, go over here and use opiates, and it's not laced with fentanyl, at some point in time, they're going to go, hey, I can't get it right there, it's closed. I'm going over here. I'm sorry if I'm...
Yeah, no, I think that you're trying to explain it the best way you can. All right, let me help her.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because she needs to understand what's going on, okay?
Yes, sir.
And they don't know the detail. Come on, Commissioner Wiley, and then I'm going
to. So thanks for the presentation, and Commissioner Harris, I appreciate your comments. And I understand and to some degree agree with the notion of trying to create a safer environment. However, as a government entity, we cannot technically advocate for drug usage, and by us creating a safe house, it is indirectly advocating drug use. Now, I do understand, I think you're correct, that there are studies that have shown that safe houses in Washington and New York and stuff like that for controlled usage of certain substances have led to less overdose deaths to some degree, but one of the things that those studies don't dig into are the secondary and tertiary effects otherwise, and other elements of crime. And so it's definitely a touchy subject, to Mr. Director Sarhat's credit. I appreciate your efforts in going into the schools and trying to engage our youth in discussions about this. And, it's a somber thing in that I'm glad that our country has found a new way to address drug use rather than jailing people. And it's unfortunate that we had to learn that lesson at the expense of a lot of families who oftentimes look like myself. One thing I will say is that, to your point, because he's in a tough situation. He's the enforcement guy, right? So conversations like that might be better served with us as a commission, because that potentially could be a policy thing rather than an enforcement thing. And we set the rules, the government sets the rules, and he's got to enforce them, so to speak. So he couldn't necessarily, even if he wanted to, get up here and advocate directly for safe houses and stuff like that. But again, we have to think about the other effects that has. Director Sarhat, I just wanted to ask you, how has the outreach program been going?
No, I think it's going well. My boss is going to cringe when I say this, but I'm going to be asking for another person at C&T, a demand reduction individual, that I think I've made inroads and built some good relationships with all the schools, with the public schools and the private schools. And based on those relationships with all the other organizations, I think I'm ready to have somebody that can do that full time and go into the schools on a daily basis and work those programs. And so from that standpoint, I think it's going very good. Mm-hmm. And I agree that there are other options out there and things, how we can attack this. I've tried very hard to go outside of my comfort zone as the individual in charge of law enforcement for narcotics in the county, to get involved in the education, the awareness, the back end of the problem with the Healing Hearts organization and that support group. So I'm open to all those things.
I want to say one last thing in the comment that you made in reference to the students who were taking Adderall and stuff like that. I don't feel bad for them because they sought a drug illegally, and that's the issue that we're running into. It is a sad story, and at the end of the day, if they needed Adderall, they could have gone to a doctor and sought a prescription. So I don't think we need to, at any point, normalize somebody using something regardless of what it's for,
Right.
Because for all that matter, we can say, oh, well, somebody had a test the next day and they snorted a few lines of coke and it was fentanyl. And just like the Army Academy, we had soldiers who died. So I do want to just kind of make that differentiation also. But again, thank you for your efforts. I know it's a thankless job oftentimes, but we appreciate you.
All right, let's go to Commissioner Milton.
I just want to thank you for the work you do. It's obviously pretty intense, And just to say to Commissioner Harris, I would say, you found it difficult to say, but it's just against the law. It's against the law that of course you want to try to save lives, but the main thing, and from his standpoint, he's enforcement. He can't, he's not going to recommend putting a house up to keep you safe. But we will try to nip it in the bud,
Maybe just not necessarily give them a space to do the drugs, but offer resources, because a lot of people fear going to the hospital, like you were saying, because a lot of people have that same mindset and they automatically criminalize the people who are on the drugs and have certain mindsets about them, so they're scared to go to the hospital because they're scared to get sent to jail. If the safe houses were there, even if they weren't allowed to do the drugs inside the safe houses, they'd have access to resources. So where they're not as scared.
We'll get to the answer for you, because there is an answer to your question, okay? But let me get the Commissioner. Commissioner, Kicklighter.
Thank you. I agree with what everybody's saying, and to try to put it more into, I guess, just a different way. I understand what you're saying. Saying what he said, it's true. It's illegal, shouldn't do it. But, let's face it.
It's happening.
Parents tell the kids no sex too. It happens. It's gonna happen. So you got some parents that'll say, have protection, use what you need to use, whatever. Some may even put them on the pill, because that's a fact. Although the preference as a parent is no sex, the preference as a parent is don't take drugs. They're illegal and they can kill you. So you never, in my opinion, can find anyone in a responsible position to say anything different. But under the realization that people are going to do certain things no matter what, here's how I think you can help. I was blown away when he first came up here and started talking to us about fentanyl. What's happening is you have these backwood labs that they're good enough to take pill pressing machines and press a pill with a morsel of fentanyl in it, but to make it look like it's a Adderall, Percocet, or something that wouldn't kill you. Back in the old days, a drug addict overdosed, everybody knew that was gonna happen, because that person was strung out, shooting up, and it took a while to die. Now what's happening is the kids, I didn't realize it, he explained that one tiny grain of fentanyl is the size of like a sweet and low grain, which is smaller than a sugar grain, can kill you. So in this little backwood lab, when they pressing these pills and they selling them to people as if there was a prescription, you could literally think you're taking nothing that's gonna hurt you. Gonna give you a little high, gonna give you a little buzz, give you a little ecstasy, whatever, all that stuff people in that world like to take and do. And boom, you're dead the next second. That's what has to get out to the young people of the world and the old people. He also explained that this drug is the cause of men between the ages of, I believe you said 18 and 46?
45, number
18
one.
and 45. This is the number one cause of death now in our country. So when a guy between 18 and 45 is dead, there's a real good chance he OD'd, and there's an even better chance he OD'd because of the fentanyl.
Yes.
Being either laced or somebody tried to take it themselves. So that's what they have to know. No, drugs ain't gonna ever be stopped. But you can tell your friends that, look, you're a damn gone idiot if you take any pill that didn't come from the pharmacy that you picked up yourself that was prescribed to you. Because there's a good chance it's just fake. And it was made a cheaper way, but a much more dangerous way. That's how we can keep the kids from dying so much. And I don't know how that message can get out to people, but you're having good kids that screwed up and did something illegal maybe one time, and they're dead. You're having others, I'm sure, that were taking it for a while and like rolling the, whatever. Russian roulette, and just made it a few times and then finally got it. But it's not the old days where they're necessarily going to be strung out and you even need to help them. It could be that good kid that just got one time pressured at that party and somebody says, yeah, I got a pill you can take, you feel good, and they take it and they're dead. That's what people have to know. And that's where I think y'all could be amazing. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, let's go to the manager. Come in. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chairman, and we've had, really good discussion today on this issue. One of the things I'm going to do for the Youth Commission is make sure that Director Sarhat, presents his program to them at their meeting. I really think that they need to have a in-depth conversation with them to really understand the problem. As commissioners have said, this is a complex problem, and I really want them to have some quality time with him. So we'll be arranging that sometime with the next month or so to get him to go to their meeting and present to them.
Okay, Commissioner Farrell.
Thank you. Director Sarhat, are you aware of any person that checked themselves into the hospital for a possible drug overdose? that there was officers waiting to arrest them as they were leaving the hospital because they possibly did some illegal substances, and that's why they're there?
No, sir.
So would you say that if a person took an illegal substance and had a bad reaction, that a very safe place to go would be the emergency room as far as getting themselves checked out and not worrying about somebody clasping some bracelets on them and hauling them to a place they might not want to go?
That's a fair assessment of the situation. You know, nowadays with this fentanyl, hopefully they can even get to the hospital. So it's our first responders that are gonna hopefully allow them to get to the hospital.
But just for all the public to know that, you know, that is a safe option. They don't have to worry about law enforcement waiting at the exit door of the emergency room.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And let me conclude this now by saying this, that we need to understand. There is no safe house for fentanyl. All right, you can't create a safe house for fentanyl. We've had first responders respond to an emergency who came in contact with fentanyl that was airborne, or they touched the individual, and they themselves had to have the Narcan to revive them. We've had sheriff deputies do that. We've had EMS workers to do that. So
Savannah PD.
the safe house are for those folks who are trying to rid themselves of their addiction, and we realize that it's a sickness, all right? So we do have agencies in Chatham County who work with the medical professionals and the law enforcement professionals to get folks into treatment plans where programs that we can help them, but there is no such thing for fentanyl. Fentanyl you can mess around and touch with your hands, and it goes into you, and the next thing you know, you're the victim who was dead from fentanyl. But I want to get back to what Commissioner Stone was asking. There was a report this morning on CNN about having kids be careful during Halloween.
Yeah.
Because some idiot is putting fentanyl in Skittles and other M&Ms and other candies that will be given out during Halloween, and I think that's what
Right.
what Commissioner Stone was getting to. That report we saw this morning.
I did not see that report. I think I've seen it but not that the report was that a person was individually taking
Right.
those pills and putting it into a Skittle.
Right.
What I have seen is that they're using the Skittle bags, the Whoppers, all the different candy wrappers, or to put that everything in it is a fentanyl pill, sealing it back up, and getting on a plane and trying to transport it.
Right.
Okay. Now, is it feasible somebody that is totally not right would take one of those pills and put it in a packet, and then when a kid shows up, absolutely. I mean, the Tylenol scandal in the 670s, I'm dating myself here, but everybody knows I'm an old fart,
Don't worry about dating yourself.
Yeah, so, I said initially, I think that was more of a transportation utilized to hide and disguise the fact that those are fentanyl pills to get them from point A to point B.
Right. From the makers to the distributors.
But as a parent, to reiterate, as a parent, it is now more important. Back in the day when I was trick or treating, the parents were looking for the razor blades.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if that package isn't sealed from the manufacturer, you need to get rid of it.
Right. Okay. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Adams?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's not get stuck on just the pills, because I've heard stories of marijuana being laced.
Right.
So we
Also,
lost,
and you saw the close proximity of the
Yep.
marijuana and
Yep.
the fentanyl and everything else. So let's not get
I
stuck
mean,
on
they-
just pills.
they are actively lacing the other drugs. I know that because there's reports across the country and investigations going on, okay? And all I'm saying is from an education standpoint, I'm trying very hard to get that word out to give people pause,
Right.
to give them pause. I know, I mean, I've been in this fight since 1987, so I get it. I get it. But that doesn't mean we just don't keep fighting.
Okay. You got it? All right, thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right. As we move on with the agenda, we go into the action calendar now. All right, and on the action calendar, we're going to have a motion to adopt the action calendar in its entirety except under number 9, when you get to J, and when you get to L, correct? All right, so may I have a motion as such? Properly motion is second that we adopt the action calendar in its entirety except for L and J. Are you ready for the question? Commissioners, please vote. Commissioner Stone votes yes. Waiting on 3? Okay. Yeah, good. All right, let us go now first. Let's take first. We, as in, on the action calendar, item number L, change order number 5 to the construction contract for the new Chatham County Courthouse to include additional work from, doing L, and then we go to J. All right? Okay, we're at the point now, do we want to go and do the motion and then do discussion, or do the discussion and then the motion?
Go ahead and do the motion, and we'll bring
All right.
Ms. Youssef up to.
Okay, give me give me a motion to accept the change order L.
I'll make the motion to accept, change L under necessity.
Second.
All right, it's been properly motioned and second. All right, now we come for the questions. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask our project manager, Ms. Youssef, to briefly go over the change order, and then we'll hear from the architect for the project.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
Commissioners. The change order that we're submitting to the board today for consideration is a change order related to, for the construction contract, is for the contractor, J.E. Dunn, who is doing the construction work for the new courthouse. There are a whole number of items that are included in this change order, and they've been grouped into 4 sections. Section 2A refers to the items that are related to information that have resulted from information not being included in the design documents. 2B includes items that have resulted from utility conflicts. It pretty much falls in the category of unknown conditions. So there's no way that the contractor could have anticipated those unknown conditions and included it in his price. Group 2C is county requested work in the interest of a better product. That was a request that staff made. And again, since it was made after construction started, it was not included in the contractor's bid price. Item 2D is the cost associated with the time delays of the extension. It essentially ties back, there are 2 items in there related to time delays, and it ties back to one item under the design section, and one item that's a 4-day delay, and another item under utility conditions, unknown conditions, for 47 days. That is essentially the cost that the contractor has presented to us. It's his operating cost. It's a hefty number between his operating costs and the cost for rental of cranes. That's a big ticket item. It's a ballpark in the range of almost $10,000 a day. So between these two items, we're looking at a 50-day time extension, and so it's approximately in the range of $500,000. But we do have for item 2A that are costs that are related to items that were not included in the design documents, which the contractor hence did not include it in his bid number. If you have specific questions, we did request the architect to be present here. So that would apply to 2A. But if you need further clarifications on 2B, 2C, or 2D, I will do my best to answer.
Okay, any questions now from any commissioner? Commissioner Whiteley, let's see, who else? Commissioner Farrell, Commissioner Whiteley, Commissioner Milton. Any others? All right, Commissioner Whiteley?
All right, and is the architect here, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, here's what I want to make sure we do now. Do you have any questions for her?
Her. Well, yes, sir.
Okay, ask her the questions you
Okay.
need to ask for
And
her. Then we'll get to architect.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to clarify.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay, so, Ms. Youssef, thank you for the staff report you just gave. So with the changes, what's prompting these changes?
Again, they're kind of 4 categories. So there's some changes that are resulting from design issues. There are another group of changes that are resulting from unknown conditions. We've had a situation where pretty much along the entire side of Oglethorpe, we had unsuitable soils. So the contractor couldn't come and, he did the necessary compaction, couldn't get the structural integrity that we needed, so we had to come back and do additional piers and piles. So that was a 47-day delay. And so related to that item, actually, if you look at the cost of work, that was $232,000. But then the delays is almost 100% the same amount because he's out there for 47 days. The cranes are out there for 47 days. So it just becomes like a domino.
Yes, ma'am. Well, and I do understand, you made that perfectly clear when we first embarked on this endeavor that there were going to be a lot of unknowns, so the soil is definitely understandable. Now, as it relates to the architect who we use, how long, when did we start engaging with them on this project?
I don't know the exact time. It kind of
roughly a year, maybe.
No, I would say almost close to 2 decades. Because this project, in my understanding, I inherited this project. In my understanding, this project has been on and off for a long time. It kind of picked up more steam probably around 2012, and that's when some amount of renovation that the existing courthouse were done.
Okay.
And then the major part of the project was this new building.
All right, so maybe this might need to be directed to Mr. Manager. So when, or anybody who was here at the time, when did we award that contract for the architecture?
Commissioner, I will have to get you that exact date, and we're pulling
just
that.
roughly.
We're looking at 20 years, over 20 years. Now, if you go back in time, this project was always going to be in phases. As you can remember, the first phase was to do the renovations of the current courthouse. And then the second phase was going to be, we would build a new trial court building. And third phase was going to be go back and renovate the current structure. So we've been embarking down this road for about almost 25 years.
Gotcha.
Now, one of the issues why it took so long is the commission, we never had a funding source for it. And it wasn't until the previous board voted to include the debt service and sales tax that we were able to build the project.
Okay.
So, but Dewberry, the architect, they were the initial architect on the project going back 2 decades, more than 2 decades. At some point when we were certain we were going to do the project, we looked at it and it was determined that they had more knowledge of the project, and we let them continue, and thinking that we were going to save time versus going out and scrapping everything and going out and rebid and redesign. That's kind of where we are today.
Okay. And And so, yeah, so with this, I know this is probably like our maybe second or third change that's associated with our architecture. And we gave them that contract because they had kind of been involved, so we didn't go into the whole RFP, and it seems like there might be some flaws in our procurement process, but that's all the questions I have. I appreciate that.
Okay, for Commissioner Farrell, is it to her? Yes. Okay, Commissioner Farrell. Hit it just once. There you go.
All right, I'll have a live mic. Well, I appreciate the way you broke this down, Ms. Parviz, about the 4 different areas of the cost override. The total being nearly $1.4 million of taxpayer money. We owe it to the public to tell them exactly how we're spending their money. So
Bobby, cut yours off. Oh, that's coming through the phone. Go ahead.
2A references for scopes of work that were not included in the design documents, and $455,000 is the cost to the taxpayers. My question is, with working on it for 20 years, why were these scopes of work not included in the design documents?
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's not a question for her. That's what we want to talk to the architect about.
Well, she's the one that put it on there. I'd like to see what her.
But she's reporting to you what they found in the flaws in the architectural design. That's what's got us in that problem.
Maybe she has a response or no
Okay.
response. I don't know.
Go ahead and say it.
That, like I said, we're managing this project, and those are her words for scopes of work that were not included in the design documents. And my question is just a very simple question. Why was $455,000 worth of work not in the design documents? It sounds like you had plenty of time to generate the best possible set of blueprints for a courthouse with the maximum amount of time needed.
Well, yes, we wish that all that information had been in there. Now, as I do say at the paragraph below it, staff concurs that all of those items are required for the project. The unfortunate thing is that had it been included, we wouldn't be paying a premium for it. We would have had to pay for it anyways, but we wouldn't have had to pay a premium for it.
Well, that's troubling that we have to pay a premium for something that we could have competitively bid out. So, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Middleton, it's yours for her? Okay. Commissioner Long, it's yours for her? Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am. Commissioner Stone has something? Okay.
She asked, has the contractor worked with this architect before?
I am not aware of it.
We don't know, I don't think we know the answer to that.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
all right, now, I got everybody for her, yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
I just want to ask, for people watching, what was not included? The 455,000, a quick rundown of that list since it's not up here. What was not included in the blueprints or whatever?
It's these 14 items that are listed in
Go to
here.
the staff report.
No, I said for the public.
Oh,
That's
so
why,
Can you read it? How many are there?
there are 14 items.
Okay, could you read 14 items out loud, please?
Yes, sir. Roof structure modifications. It was something to do with roof anchors on the roof level. So right now, the critical path of the project is running through steel. So that's a steel item, and that's why there's a delay incurred over there. The next item is mechanical expansion loops. The other two items are also related to HVAC. You have the cooling tower bypass, chilled water bypass valve. At the waterproofing, at the foundation level, we needed to have some haunches. A data communication floor floor boxes, excuse me, that actually was a credit. Waterproofing and precast dowels was also a credit. We needed additional steel for a louver blockout. Sliding doors at main entry. Now, this item, we've had a bit of back and forth, because the original design for the doors to the courthouse, the architect had swing doors, and we were not in favor of those because there's a large amount of people that go through those doors, right? Approximately 500 people in, 500 out on a daily basis in the current courthouse. So we wanted it to be automatic. So that was a change. We had made that request prior to bid. It did not get incorporated entirely, but now it is incorporated. Now we're having sliding doors. Curved security wall. This is to protect the building. In certain places, we have bollards, but in certain places, they've had to put in a wall. The other item is structural provisions for the bench lift. And this is in the courtroom, where the judges sit their bench. Code requires us to provide at least one handicap, allow the bench to be handicap accessible, but it also requires additional benches to be adaptable. So that's what that item is. Stair one, suspended slab. There are 4 staircases in the building. In this particular staircase one, a modification had to be made to allow piping for the fire pump room. Elevator 2, we have 6 elevators in the project. Elevator 2 required a beam plate at the top level. The last item is portico structural moment connections. It's a structural thing that was required at the front portico.
Okay, so how much money did we pay the architect firm
To date,
to date?
I don't have the exact number, maybe 7 to 8 million.
Okay, well, for $7 or $8 million, is it in your opinion that architect firm should be knowledgeable enough to have included all of that stuff originally?
The expectation would be yes.
Yeah, I would think so too. So I just wanted to make that point clear for the people at home. And I'll just state that I think we're all in a position today where we are bound to approve this because the cost could very well outweigh our expense today if we were to delay it, to seek a kind contribution back towards us from the architectural firm in the amount of $500,000. I believe we can go after that at a later date. And so we'll be moving forward here, I assume, today. But I just want it to be quite clear for the public to understand that we know what we're doing here today, but we're kind of forced to do what we're doing today because in the long run, it's going to save you some money. But we will not forget, and we will seek a reimbursement to you, all of you, the taxpayers here. So, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Milton?
This is not the first change order that we've had that was an oversight from the architect, is that correct?
That is correct.
So, and we're still not done with the project, so, the possibility of this continuing, are we gonna continue to accept these change orders? It's just a little, it's probably not, from what I understand from the county manager, is that this company has been knowledgeable of building courthouses. So I'm not quite understanding, if you're knowledgeable about building courthouses and you've done so many, how can you just make these kind of errors, make these oversights? Yeah, that might be for the architect.
Yeah,
but
that's what I'm telling you. I think what you all are doing now is you're putting her in a position where she can't answer for the architect, okay? So let me go, Commissioner, make sure your question now is directed towards Ms. Parvee.
Yes.
And she can answer that, and it's in her purview. Okay,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Thank you. Is it possible for staff to go back and review things so that this won't happen in the future?
You mean on this project that's currently underway?
Yes, ma'am.
it's a little bit of a situation that the boat has already sailed, because this was a hard bid project. So the contractor only prices the information that was given to him during bid time. So whether it was information that was not on the documents on bid day, he could not include that in his price. If it was unknown conditions, they were unknown, so he couldn't have included that in his price. The third group, which is owner requested items, that was made after bid. I guess the line is the bid day. What all information did the contractor have in his hand at bid time to include in his price? And anything that comes afterwards is an add cost. So even if we were to go through that exercise now, the bid day has passed, so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I have everybody's question now for Ms. Parvee. All right, let us bring the architect forward, those who represent Dewberry.
I'd like to introduce
Go ahead.
Dewberry, the architect for the project, being represented by Jim Bate.
Thank you. It's good to be here this morning.
Morning, good morning. All right, you want us to just give you the questions, or you want to make a statement before?
Well, I'd make a bit of a statement to start with.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, Parvee's brought up the entrance doors. That is the biggest ticket item that is in our list. We don't agree that that's an error. We had doors that we designed into the building, and we had a provision in there for motion sensors to be added when you walk in the door, so for the doors to open. But towards the end of the project, there was a desire to go with the sliding doors. At a certain point in time, when you're finishing drawings, you can't make any more changes. You just have to finish the drawings. And so we don't take exception with the rest of the list here, but that number there we think is up for discussion as to whether we're really responsible for it. And that's a full third of the number. So if you look at the overall change order, based on if you put that door in our bucket, 33% of the number is ours. If you take the door out of the bucket, 21% of the number is ours. So, you know, of the overall number, which is a big number, you know, we're only responsible for what we're responsible. There's no way we did borings to test the soil. There's no way we could have known about the unsuitable soil around the perimeter of the site. And unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. When you say we've been working on this project for 20 years, actually, I first touched this project 30 years ago, believe it or not. And it's been a long process. Now, the actual production of the construction documents, though, only occurred over about a 18-month, 2-year period. There were a lot of delays, a lot of time spent going through the city of Savannah. At the end, we kind of scrapped that and moved on. And but the actual production, we weren't working on these drawings for 20 years.
All right. Okay, and I had on here first, Commissioner Milton, you had a question for me?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Dewberry, is it?
No, Mr. Bate.
Bate.
Dewberry is the architect firm.
Yeah, Dewberry's the firm.
Okay, thank you. My question is, how long, you just stated that you've been doing this project, we've been working on this project for 30 years?
Off and on.
Off and
I
on.
first touched it 3 years ago. Yeah, but it's gone on hold for years at a time. And it comes
So
back to
can
life.
you tell me how your firm omitted the items that were left out? And not just from this change order, we had a previous change order that was an omission from the architect. How does that happen with your reputation? I mean, you indicated that you've been building courthouses for a while.
Yes, ma'am, that's a fair question. In our industry, we have what's called a standard of care. There's no such thing as a perfect set of documents. That standard of care is usually around, we could argue this, but about 3% of the cost of the project. The stuff that's in our list is quite a bit under that 3% right now. Most of these change orders have been either unforeseen conditions or changes that have been made after the bid. And but we do take, you know, if we miss something, we missed it. Per the Parvee's comment, though, these are things that would have been in the bid anyway, and then we can, you know, have a discussion probably at the end of the job, try to close this thing out as to what, and the word premium was used. I'm not sure it's a premium, but that implies that you paid double. but some amount over what it would have been if it had been in the bid, we would agree that the number would have been some percentage lower, arguably 10%, something like that. if
So
they had to
will
put it
you
in.
agree to pay the difference in the cost?
I think we have to have that discussion. At the end of the day, it depends on what that percentage is against the original bid price. Again, if we're around that 3% number, which is considered an industry standard, from our side of the table, we say that's within an error of margin. You folks might disagree with that. I think we need to get to the end of the road, and then we can sit down and have that discussion.
Well, we'll probably be having that discussion. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, Commissioner Farrell? You good? Okay. Now we go to Commissioner Lockett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, with your company's experience overall, I'm concerned about, I didn't see enough proactiveness on your part and more or less, and quite a bit of reaction. And that really, really concerns me as far as the project, as far as why we are running such a big change orders.
That's a good question, and we have been proactive. We have a list of all the things that have been brought to the table that have been, I'm sure the right word, but questions by the contractor that could be construed as being extra cost, and we have resolved a large percentage of those at no cost to the county. So we have worked and Parviz has done a great job. I mean, you folks have a great person there in terms of the level of detail that she gets into to look at every single line item. But we have worked very closely and very hard with the county to keep these numbers as low as we can.
I'm just going by what I see, and I didn't see enough proactiveness on the project.
It's a big job, so it's going to be big numbers. I mean, if this was a $10 million fire station, the percentages would still be about the same, but we wouldn't be talking, we'd be talking probably $20,000, $30,000 instead of $400.
Big jobs require big decisions.
Yes. And we have, from day one, worked in the county's interest to keep these to the absolute minimum we can. There's no such thing as a perfect set of drawings.
We realize that.
Yeah, we're not like a car manufacturer that can produce prototypes, drive them, test them before they put the first one into production. Our drawings are one-offs, so they're never perfect. And even Ford Motors, when they put out a car, they still have problems with it, so. Not to pick on Ford. I love Fords, sorry. Any car manufacturer.
That was my concern. I didn't see enough proactiveness in that project.
I personally have a significant amount of investment personally in this project. I will assure you of that, sir. A big chunk of my life has been working on this project.
Okay. Commissioner Whiteman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so Mr. Bate,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you for being here. Question, where's your firm based out of?
Our corporate headquarters are in Fairfax, Virginia, which is just south of Washington, D.C.
Or you have a local office?
We have a staff member here in the Savannah area. It's not really an office, though. I mean, today's virtual world, offices are, not what they used to be.
Okay, yeah. So after the first issue we had a few months ago, what steps did you guys take to go and kind of review the potential for any further design issues?
Yeah, well, per Ms. Youssef's comments, the drawings were done, so we can't go back in time and do another review. We did do a thorough quality control. Some of these things on a big job like this, when you talk about roof structure modifications, that was adding some steel to support the window washing equipment. It's the kind of stuff that when you're in the weeds of doing the project, you just don't see. But we are working very hard on everything that comes up to push back on, on a claim and say that, no, that should be in the drawings or should be in the contract, not an extra. When you have a design bid build project like this, it's, the contractors bid exactly what's on the drawings and not a screw more. So it's kind of the nature of the process.
Well, we understand that, but we're not necessarily questioning the contractor's bid. He bid based on the drawings.
Correct.
And I think that's kind of what has us here now.
Understood.
Now, are there any other changes you foresee potentially having to take place in the future?
Based on our work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are concerned that the millwork number is low and that something may come up there, but we feel very strongly that our millwork, when I say millwork, that's like the benches you guys are sitting behind, are solid. Other than that, Harvey's, there always is something. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, we're done with that, but millwork concerns us because we haven't sort of finalized that yet. But nothing else major. All these mechanical, HVAC, cooling tower, chilled water, that's all a result of combing through the drawings for the mechanical and electrical. So we think we're in pretty good shape there. Most of the shop drawings, and those are the contractor's detailed drawings that come in terms of how they're going to literally install the material and specifically what material it is. We're through a good percentage of that, where a lot of these have come from, this one in the past. So we think we're closing the loop on it. But again, it's a big job. There will be some things that will come up.
Yes, sir. And so at what point were you, I know you said you personally have been
Yes.
working on this for
Yes, sir.
a good bit of 30 years. At what point were you notified that you would kind of go from the preliminary to the guys or gals?
In terms of the final drawings,
Yeah.
right after the county tried to deliver the project through what's called a P3 process. Were you folks involved in that?
None of us.
Oh, okay. Well, the P3 process is where a developer leads the project, and the county pursued that as a way to deliver the project, and it became apparent that that was going to be extremely costly. And when they shut that down and decided not to go that route, that's when Mr. Kegler talked about re-engaging us just to finish the design and finish the drawings. I'd have to go back and look at my calendar.
Well, it's not that big of a deal. I think you answered my question, and just kind of goes back to the point that perhaps had we engaged in a RFP of some sort, maybe we wouldn't be here, which just highlights some of my concerns with our procurement process. But thank you for being here, Mr. Bate. That's all I have.
All right, let me have the county manager make sure we get that right.
Yeah. For some clarity, as Mr. Bate, and I've been, as Commissioner Farrell reminds me sometime, I've been here forever.
Hannah Day.
So, this courthouse has been on the drawing board for almost over 30 years. When we built the current courthouse, a few years after it was built, we outgrew it. So my predecessor, Mr. Monahan, he started, we did an RFP, and Dewberry was selected at the time. And to be fair to everyone, what we're building now is not what we designed years ago. Because as I said, this project was originally put out in 3 phases. And we were going to do some modification to the current courthouse, build a new structure, and then go back and renovate. So this contract, the design now was not what we anticipated a number of years ago. The other thing, and I think Commissioner Farrell and Commissioner Kicklider and Commissioner Stone were on the commission when we met over at the Trade Center, and Judge Carp brought in that rendering in there, and we had a lively discussion at that time. Chairman Scott had just took office, and we had a lively discussion with the couple of Superior Court judges about that project. So, it's not fair to say that we didn't. It was a flaw in the procurement process because we followed the procurement processes that were in at that time. I think the key piece of information here is there was a point where we were at a fork in the road, whether we scrap the work that Dewberry had done and go with another design firm, or we stick with them because they had you know, ideally the most knowledge of the project and continue on, because at that time, we decided to issue bonds for the project and we wanted to get it going. If we had scrapped everything, we felt that we would have lost another 6 months, six to 12 months in order for redesign and those kind of things. So we made a decision at that time. I think where we are now, you know, we're moving forward. It would not be realistic to say that we're not going to have other issues. This was not a bad site, but this site had difficulties. You know, we're constrained by, you know, the city right away. It's a kind of oddly shaped corner there. We had a lot of issues with utilities, and we told y'all that initially. We had to relocate the main sewage force main that belongs to the city of Savannah. We've had other utility issues. So what I will commit to you is we're going to bring back that timeline, because it's been so long, and the current board really wasn't aware of everything that's going on. So we're going to bring back that and kind of give you an update and a timeline as to, you know, where we started and where we are now and those kind of things.
I got everybody now? Okay.
Did the county build the jail that was there?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Tore it down too.
And I will say,
I asked that question because a lot of the findings that you're finding now were probably found when you built the jail.
no, I
No,
think
it's totally different.
there were, and Ms. Youssef can kind of give you some of the horror stories. You know, we broke a water line that we thought services the courthouse, but didn't. It serviced the businesses across MLK. We had an issue with the Georgia Power feeds. It was just a number of, you know, utility issues that we ran into, because if you go back, we had a lot of utilities that weren't even mapped when that building was built 40 years ago, over 40 years ago.
Let me do this, all right? I think what we need to do now is set up workshops for the commissioners who are new to this, who are just here, and remind those who are already here of what's going on. All right, but let's deal with the issue that's at hand, okay? And did I get everybody now, before I go?
Thank you.
Did I get everybody? Okay. Here's my problem, all right? My problem is, and I said it to you the first time you were here, there are 14 items which we felt is your ball coat, okay? One of the items you feel like it's not your ball coat. Okay, we're not gonna argue about that, but we'll take care of that later. But my problem is, last time you were here, you accepted responsibility. Now you're accepting the responsibility for at least 13 of the 14 that's on our report now, okay? Knowing that there are things that you should have done that you did not do that's creating problems for us now, all right? Why are you so difficult to work with staff? Why are you giving them such a hard time that have to come to my desk? I need to talk to the folks at Dewberry because these things need to happen. We're in the middle of construction now, all right? And it becomes even more costly for us to shut it down and redo everything. I was not here when you were chosen, all right? We inherit you as the architect. But there are things that should have been done by you, which you acknowledged last time, and you're acknowledging 13 of the 14 this time. But I don't understand why you make it difficult for the engineering department to work with you, knowing that we have to straighten this up. Now, it doesn't matter to me, all right, the other problems that we're having, because nobody knows about the soil until you get into the soil, okay? We didn't know that we were gonna have to dig all that out and bring in more, and we didn't know that. That's fine. I can understand that. But here are issues that are coming up. The last time you were here, now this time you were here, that is on your ball court, and you're responsible for it. We can deal with the other part of that later. Like you asked and you said in your presentation, we'll do it at the end of the project. But what I'm getting at is, why is there such a difficulty with Ms. Parvee getting to you all and getting the answers she needs so that we can do this project and get it done, and yet you come in here and try to make it like we are working with her, when honestly, sir, the problem is you're not. I'm not saying you as the individual, but I'm saying Dewberry as the firm, okay? Whomever needs to work with us to straighten out all these things, because you got to come back again. And there's no need of us trying to fool ourselves that we aren't going to have some more problems with what you have designed for us to do, okay? But I'm just asking you, being proactive, as Commissioner Lockett said, you need to sit down and look at what you have put on the drawing, what we're supposed to be going by, that the staff's talking to you about, here's what we need to do. Now, if we change something, that's on us. But these problems we're having come from you and your firm, and you all should not be difficult to work with, all right? If it was more reasonable for us, I would recommend to this body, we scrap y'all and get something else. But guess what? I don't have $15 or $20 million sitting over in pot I can just reach to and go that way, okay? We got to play the hands that we are dealt with, and right now, you a bad ace in the hole. And we need for you to straighten that out. And the way to straighten that out is you've got to get better communications from your staffing folks with our staffing folks so that we can take care of this situation, because to stop the contractor right now would run this into $150 million or more, and we don't have that kind of money sitting around. Uncle, whoever he is gone, and you're not coming back with a pot of money. So, sir, I'm asking you and I'm demanding that you go back to your firm and you say to your firm, our staff needs to be in constant contact with you, because we need to be in constant contact with the construction company, and the construction company needs things to happen in a timely fashion. Everybody know. Just yesterday, I went on a trip out on the Atlantic, all right, to look at some difficulties in getting products in here. 40 ships sitting out there waiting to come in. Yeah. All right? And so when you come in and you aren't working with staff, and Ms. Poppy is the greatest person. I've never seen somebody with so much mild temperament in my life. She works with, but she knows what needs to be done. She's asking you all to work with her, and you all are not doing that. You need to go back to your folks and let them know. Now, let them know the bill is piling up, okay? And we're going to seek relief. I'm going to let you know that up front. We're going to seek relief from this, but in the meantime, we need for you to work with her and work with our engineering staff so that we can get this project done, because we have a mandate to get it done, and we have the citizens gonna hold us responsible for the money that's floating out the door, all right? They're telling us, just like Georgia Power and the rest of it tell folks about their housing, you know, your house needs to be weatherproofed. Some of the things that's going on shouldn't be going on if your folks were willing to work with our folks to get this stuff done, and that's not happening. And I know it's not happening because they're reporting it to me, and I don't think they have a reason to lie, all right? So please, go back to your folks and let them know. Whatever needs to be done on your end, let's get it done so we stop having these kinds of meetings, okay? Can I get that from you?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Now, please give me a motion, let's accept this and let's get out of here. All right, so all we need to do is carry it?
Yeah.
All right, let's vote. Ask Commissioner Stone how she votes. She votes in the affirmative.
She's working on it. I vote yes.
She haven't given to say yes?
Commissioner Stone.
All right, you got her? She's a yes? Yes. All right. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it now. Let's clean up the working with part. All right, let's go back to J, which was asked by Commissioner Whiteley to be pulled off and voted on separately. Authorize the county manager to negotiate a contract for program management services and construction management services for various capital projects. Is there a motion? I need a motion from you all. Staff is recommending approval. Do I need to make the motion? Can I make the motion? I need a motion from up here. All right. I got a motion. There's a second. There's a second? Because I heard two of y'all say I'll make the motion. Okay. Okay. It's been motioned by Commissioner Lockett, second by Commissioner Kicklighter, that the authorization be approved. Are you ready for the question? Any questions? All right, questions. Let me get you in line. Commissioner Whiteley, Commissioner Farrell, Commissioner Lockett. Yes, sir.
I was not making a motion to approve.
What were you doing?
I was to hear more of it, to put it on the table and to discuss it. That's
All right, in order to get there, though, we gotta have a motion and a second. So you would rather, Commissioner Kicklighter would say he make the motion, would you the second?
I will not second it.
All right, is there, so we can't get to discussion.
Maybe somebody else go by, I won't make it.
All right, is there a second to Commissioner Kicklighter's motion? The motion is to approve and authorize the county manager to engage in negotiation for the contract. That's the motion.
Is this the project manager?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dies for a lack of a second.
Well, what you all about to do, and you know, I hate to do this, but you all about to break your own procurement process. And you're gonna set your own self up.
Mr.
Because
Chair.
you're trying to do favors for friends, and you shouldn't do that in here.
Don't speak for me.
I'm not speaking for you.
Don't speak for me either.
Speaking to all of us. So you're
I'm
speaking to
speaking
me.
to all of you, but I'm not speaking for you. I'm just asking you, here is what's on the agenda. Now, am I correct? The law tells us that we have to, anything on the agenda, we have to vote for up or down?
No, sir, you gotta have a motion and you gotta have a second. And
Right.
If you don't get a second, the motion fails,
All
which
right.
means it stays on the agenda.
Okay,
And it can be brought up at a later date. If it stays on the agenda for, I can't remember whether it's 3 times or 4 times, it falls off the agenda. Now, y'all have done what you have to do under the Procurement Act, of putting it out for bid. And the commission has to decide whether it wants to vote positively or negatively towards affirming the appointment of these folks.
Well,
Now, that doesn't mean you're hiring them to start work on
Right.
Project A.
we're not hiring anybody today.
I think that's a great idea, because undoubtedly I'm outside the loop. I don't know there was any controversy about anything, so sitting and maybe somebody can inform me between now and 2 weeks what the issue is, if there is one.
I have a lot of
Whatever's fine
questions.
with me. I mean, I have nothing in this game other
Commissioners,
than wanting to
Commissioner
do
Middleton.
whatever's necessary to right things.
When, thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you made you said that the process was, we were unaware of the process.
That's not true.
No, we knew that this was coming up, but I'm saying, I didn't know who any of the applicants were. I don't know who won the bid. I don't know what process was used to figure out who won the bid. So that's where I'm in the dark.
You're not in the dark because it's right in front of you.
Unless you get a second, we can't have a discussion on it.
Right.
It just needs that.
Yes, no.
Okay.
We'll be back on the next.
All right, so let's move on?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm understanding? All right, let's move on. It's back on the agenda for next. We don't have any first readers, we don't have any second readers. We go to information, all right? Can we pull up on the, there it is. All right, let me invite all of you and invite the public to come tonight to the T-Splosh, Town Hall meeting tonight at Gartley Station, all right, at 2135 Benton Boulevard, and that'll be tonight at 7. There are 7 listed dates that we are going to have workshops on the benefits of T-Splosh. We invite all the commissioners to be there and for all the commissioners to be with us.
Mr. Chairman.
All right?
Mr. Chairman.
What now? Yeah, there's, the last one that we added on there was the Montgomery Athletic Club. All right, that's the one you don't have. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just would ask that you two pass along to the people out on the west side tonight that a friend of mine's son's viewing this tonight.
Yes.
So I will be in attendance at the viewing, so I
Okay.
will not be in the meeting. So
All righty.
thank you.
All right. I'll make sure we know that tonight.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
want to remind the commission, in your packet, you've got the Parks and Recreation updates that I want you to pay close attention to. The flyer from the Sheriff's Department, the Halloween with Heroes is also included, along with the T-Splosh Town Hall meetings. And one thing I would like to bring to the commission's attention, to put it on your calendar, is next week on the 26th at 2 p.m., we're going to have a ceremony to inter the cremains that's held by the coroner's office. So something will be going out today on that. So if you can attend, we'd ask that you attend on next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And we'll be sending that information out to you.
Yeah, and so that you'll be brought up to date, when the present coroner took office, there were, what, 547?
About 500, yeah.
About 500 plus remains that we had in a place that we needed to. So anyway, yeah, we need to do something. So what we've done is bought space in the cemetery, all right, and we're going to deposit those remains, and there'll be a list of who's there, all right? These are some things that people have abandoned, all right? These are some folks who nobody knew, any relatives or anybody who could take charge of them, and so we've got to bury that 500 plus folks, all right? So we're gonna have that ceremonies out at Bonaventure. Yes, sir.
Will this be like a mass?
Yes, it's gonna be mass. It's gonna be a mass burial, but they're gonna have a funeral service, and the coroner, we have pastors and all lined up to be there, okay? And we have tried as hard as we could to get in touch with any next of kin, but a lot of these don't have next of kin, so we're gonna have that mass burial.
Mass.
On container, yeah. Each one of them in there, they're individual, but they're mass.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay. Let me also say to you now, I have, as a part of helping the sheriff with the breast cancer awareness, all right, I have engaged him into putting the pink flamingos at your residence for a week to recognize breast cancer. If you don't want that, or you want it other than your address, please let us know so we can let them know, all right, because that will be going on. Also, the sheriff is having the Halloween with Heroes Trunk or Treat drive, which will be Thursday, October the 27th, from 6 to 8. And here's flyers that anyone want to take, and it's gonna be at the sheriff complex, the sheriff office on Carl Griffin Drive, all right? If you are want to participate in that, please do, all right? And lastly, the manager has given you some things that you need to do. And before we go, I want to let the public know that Commissioner Tanya Milton has completed her coursework with the ACCG, and this is from the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute, where she has been certified as a commissioner. All right? She's joining the rest of us. Yeah. All of us up here, everybody who went through there got a diploma. Put it on your wall, because I got mine in the office. Let me ask now, there is a need for us to do executive sessions, and we need to go through
For
personnel,
litigation,
land acquisition, all right? Is there a motion?
litigation.
Litigation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Probably motion and second that we adjourn to executive session. Ready for the question? Please cast your votes. All right, Commissioner Stone votes.
She votes yes.
Okay, Commissioner all right, we go on our way to executive session.